Today I'm sitting down with Zach. We've been working together for a little while now. And in this video, I want to go over his entire process and his betting journey, where he started, his results, and where he thinks the future will be going. So for the people who don't know you, Zach, can you kind of introduce yourself? How long have you been working with me? And like, what's your history with betting?
Absolutely. So I guess I've been working with you for about 3 weeks or a month or so now, I think. My history with betting has pretty much just been a hobby. And the more I looked at it, and when I kind of got linked up with you, it occurred to me that there was a strong possibility that it could be almost like a secondary investment strategy outside of what most people would probably consider a standard portfolio. I went through several handicappers that pretty much just ripped me off before I got lined out with you. As far as like where I started out at, you want to know like my
Your mic just cut out. I can't really hear.
okay, you
Like
got me
connection's
again now.
super shaky. Yeah.
Okay. No, I was saying as far as like where I started out, are you wanting to know like my unit size or kind of like my total value?
Yeah, so I'll get into like all of that stuff in the future, but what you said is perfect.
All right,
So over the month of working with me, how much have you made so far?
about $20,000.
You made 20.
Yeah, I'm at like 19,797.
That's insane. I did not know it was that much. That's insane. To give people the context on that, what's your bankroll right now? Or what was your starting bankroll?
5 grand. 5 grand is what I initially put in, and then I added to it. I added like another 5 grand after I saw that you were pretty legitimate, and then I wasn't nearly as intimidated
That's
to
sweet.
invest a little bit of extra capital. So I basically just doubled my unit sizes.
Yeah, I think you texted me on November 1st and said that you were upping to like a 10K bankroll, or maybe a 20K bankroll and a 1K unit size. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's insane though. I did not think it was, that crazy. Would you say that the results have been obviously not like every day is going to be profitable, but more so consistent? I feel like a big issue with a lot of handicappers is that their results are way too streaky, where one week they go 7-0 and then 0-7. Like it's basically just like a huge roller coaster. Would you say that's how it is with us, or is it much more consistent?
No, you're much more consistent. The other thing that I noticed with other handicappers and where I would run into problems is they would, like the way that you teach is operating off of a set unit size, which is basically just like a share of stock or something. But they were throwing like, 17 bets a day. And I mean, if your unit size is $1,000, so what? Now you're going to be betting, $10,000, $15,000 a day. And when you have a shitty day, like, man, you just lost all your capital. There's no more, you're either coming back out of pocket
Yeah.
to reinvest in yourself. Whereas with you, I feel like there's a lot more education that goes behind the picks. They're much more consistent, and don't get me wrong, we've lost some, but what we've lost versus what we've won is we've won significantly more.
Yeah, I think that all comes down to like quality over quantity. So many people enjoy doing like 10, 20 bets in a day, and like that's why they lose, Whenever you focus on quality over quantity, doing 1 to 3 bets a day that, you have actual confidence in, it's just so much more beneficial, and it's so much less stress. Like you're not checking your phone worrying about 20 different games. You only have money on 1 to 3 games. You're only worried about 1 to 3 games. Like it's so much easier, and I can't recommend quality over quantity enough.
Yeah, like whenever you and I talked when we first got involved, you had me make a commitment to you that I was going to follow the process and your process, and that I wouldn't stray outside of that. And I will say that that has been a very powerful tool as far as maintaining consistency in the earnings. Don't get me wrong. There's a couple of times that there were maybe a couple of games that I wanted to bet on and we didn't, but just because those weren't the ones that you picked. But you obviously had your reasons for that, and I trusted in the process. And I mean, you're consistently executing at a pretty high rate. So
Yeah. Yeah. I always like, even I think it was last Sunday or like this Sunday, there was no NFL bets. There was no bets that I had for NFL Sunday. And I got so many texts throughout the day of like clients reaching out, like, yo, like, what are we betting on? What are we betting on? And like, again, it all comes down to quality over quantity. If there's no value for a certain day, if there's no value for a certain game, there's no value on any of the NFL bets, I'm not going to force a bet. And I think that's something huge that separates a lot from like the typical sports bettor who just is firing different bets because they're watching it. And it's a huge divider between someone who's investing and someone who's just straight up gambling. But yeah, there
Not,
there needs to be days where you take them off.
and I feel like that, that's when when you go no bets and you got people calling you or sending you messages, like, hey, what are we doing today? I think that's a testament to your success. If you weren't very good at what you're doing, people aren't going to be looking forward to making the picks and
Yeah,
getting the return. They're
yeah,
stoked about it because you're successful and you're delivering. And you've consistently
yeah.
delivered since I've been with you, and you've been completely transparent, whereas nobody else has been.
Yeah. So that kind of takes me into my next question. What were your results, or like what were your expectations when going into it? Like before we even hopped on a call, whenever you first like started DMing me and like starting looking at my content and everything, what were your expectations at that point?
I really wasn't sure what to expect because I'd had such poor luck with previous handicappers that you were kind of like my last shot at it, to be completely honest. So, but I went into it with more skepticism with you than I had previously, just because I've been burned so many times in the past. And so I think I was a little bit more cautious. The guarantee that you gave was a big selling point for me as far as like my buy into the program. Um, and I kind of test and measured you slowly, I guess, to see, just how you performed overall. But once I saw that you're a consistent man, and and I saw that I liked the way that you operated as a whole. You really do run it like a business. And so once I saw those things and those boxes were checked, man, I was all in.
Yeah, I love to hear it. What was your so I know like unfortunately I've heard it 1,000 times like whenever I laughed earlier and said that you were burned or whenever you said you were burned from handicappers and I like giggled, it's because like I hear it so much unfortunately. So like how did you get burned? You don't have to like name drop the people, but like what exactly do you consider getting burned, I guess?
So I guess they were basically pushing like guaranteed bets, right? And there's never a bet that's guaranteed. I mean, even with the sports rigging stuff, that's not 100%. The guys that are involved in rigging could get injured, and that could throw the entire thing of what happens with the game. But
Yeah.
for me, getting burned was like them just basically pushing bets on me that they didn't have the education behind them. They weren't fact based. Now they made me think that they were, but they weren't at all. And that equated out to me losing like 10K in a week at the worst.
10K in a week?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. What was the point for you that like you needed to stop going with them and you needed to take a different approach? Like, was there one thing in particular, or was it just, after that week of losing the 10 grand?
Yeah, no, it was just after that. I mean, that pretty much sealed the deal for me. Like I was just like, man, you guys are full of shit. Like this
That
is
would kind of seal the deal
absolutely,
for me too.
yeah, this is absolutely proven to me that you guys know nothing about what you're doing. So
Yeah. So before working with me, you just think, oh, this is another handicapper making crazy claims. What, like, did you have any doubts or hesitations or anything? Or I'm sure you did, but like, what were those?
I'll say I didn't have as many with you, and that's because you took the time to hop on the phone with me. I mean, you got on a call and
Yeah.
you basically laid out your expectations of me, which like I'm the one that's investing my capital. Why are you giving me expectations? So that to me again goes back to you running this like a business, and you basically run it like an investment firm. And so like when I sit down with
Yeah.
my investment guys at the beginning of the fiscal year or whatever, and we set down an agenda for that year, they tell me what their expectations are of me, as well as what mine are of them, and we lay out our plan for what we want for a return for that year. And you operated it exactly the same. You're like, hey, look, this is what I do. This is how it works. You have to follow the process, and if you do that, I'll make you money. Man, you've made me a shitload of money in a relatively
Yeah. It
small period of
is.
time.
Yeah, and it is as simple as that. Like it's as simple as if you follow the right steps and not like a douchebag way, but like if you do the stuff that like I'm telling you to do, then you will make money. It's literally as simple as that. But people just don't have the discipline for it. Unfortunately, I think like I always post on my Instagram story, but like the way you do one thing is how you do everything. So many people think that just because you're paying me means you immediately will start making money with betting, which just is not the case. If you don't have discipline dialed in, you can pay me all the money in the world. You're still not going to make a dollar from betting. But like you have discipline dialed in other aspects of life. And that's why it translates into like, that's why you're able to be profitable with betting. So, I mean, discipline is just a huge, huge factor.
Yeah, for sure. I totally get that. And I think that there's probably even some guys in our group in the community that that don't really have that dialed in all the way yet. And you can kind of catch on with some of the things they say, like you know, as far as like maybe placing some bets outside of you. Man, that's just going to kill the process. Again, I've been incredibly
Yeah.
successful following your plan.
Yeah, I don't think there's too many guys that really do place any other bets. I think there's maybe like 1 to 5 that I can think off the top of my head, but
Yeah,
I would say 95% of the people in there are all taking like strictly only my bets. And
that's
it's
another.
nice because like, what were you gonna say?
Oh no, I was just going to say that's another great thing about you is you actually built like a community. So the fact that we can all talk,
Yeah.
uh, and you know, it's we talk outside of your picks too. I mean, we talk sports in general. It's just cool. It's a cool place to be able to go and just BS and cut up a little bit. And
Yeah, and it's all positive in there. Like I'm not sure if you've joined a community of other handicappers, but with a lot of the other ones, if you have a losing day, the chat in those is just filled with like garbage, people saying, "Oh, he's a scammer," like I lost my rent money, like all of this garbage, which is just so sad. If we have a losing day, the people in there are like, no problem, let's get back at it tomorrow. Like it's all positive, or you don't even see a chat. There's no one complaining ever. It's a great community that we have in there.
yeah, for sure, absolutely.
So there's hundreds, if not thousands, of other handicappers out there. And obviously, you know, you've worked with a lot of them. What made you work with me over?
You took the time to hop on a call with me.
Yeah. Like anyone in the world can hop on a call with you, but I think there's more to it than just getting on a call. Like, you know, we have the results, the transparency, like all of that type of stuff too.
Yeah, yeah, that was it. Was yeah, you were completely transparent. So you had, you know, you shared all of your wins and all of your losses with me. You had me very specifically pick out a date, any date of my choice. You pulled it up on your computer screen. We went there and we looked. And if it was a loss, it was a loss, and that was okay. But it just showed that, you know, you're not preaching a 90% success rate like some of the guys are, which is just crazy.
Yeah.
You're
People
very
believe it too.
forward. Yeah, yeah, they do.
Yeah, but I think like transparency is huge. Fortunately, sometimes it backfires because people see a 60% win rate and think that that's bad because of the BS that they see on Instagram of people claiming an 80-90% win rate with guaranteed bets, or like obviously people with half a brain understand that stuff's nonsense. But like still the amount of DMs that I get of people saying, "Oh, a 60% win rate is bad," is like mind-boggling to me, especially a
Yeah.
60% win rate over a year long. Like that's very, very good.
Yes, very good and very profitable. And I mean, you even
Yeah.
have it forecasted out as far as like, you know, if you started with this much money, this is where you'd be right now based off of how many units we've done for the year. So it's, you know, anybody could who's interested in doing this can plug in whatever their unit rate is and just take your units won for the year and multiply that and figure out how much money they would have made if they're questioning whether or not 60% is good, you know?
Yeah. So let's talk about like the day-to-day stuff. Whenever you get bets sent to you, you know, how does that look on your end? What's the actual like workload, I guess you could say?
It's like 1 minute for me to place the bet. I mean, you literally you literally file off the pick. It hits Discord. You know, I get an alert. I go in there, I open it up, and right there, it's, you know, you lay out exactly how to bet. If it's 1 unit, if it's 1.5 units, if it's, you know, whatever the play is, and I just hop on my online account, plug it in, and I play to win. So my units are dollars won. But yeah, it's very basic, very fast.
Yeah, it takes probably like 5-10 minutes a day, if that, like for the entire process.
Yeah, I spend more time in excitement, like just opening it to make sure that I'm not missing anything, you know,
Yeah.
than what it actually takes me to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. No, that's I mean, that's a good thing. I'm not sure if you're familiar with like day trading, but I've had a lot of clients that compare like what we do to day trading. And with day trading, it's super time consuming. You need to be at your computer for, you know, 1 to 2 hours a day while the stock market opens. So every morning at 9:30, you're on your computer for the next 2 hours, and like you have to be super, super quick to this stuff. With this, it's like, you know, you get a notification sent before the game starts, you put the bet in and you go and live your life. Like you're not attached to the screen, you're not attached to a computer. Like it's so nice. And the other cool thing is like you can do it anywhere in the world. Like you use an offshore book, right?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, so you
yeah.
can
Mine's based out of
anywhere in
mine's
the
based
US. Yeah. So anywhere in the US, you can be on vacation and you don't have to be working. You don't have to be at your computer. You can place it from your phone and it's so nice.
Yeah, it is for sure.
Overall, like overall the process of, taking 5 minutes a day, how has that changed how you look at betting? Like is that what you were doing before?
No, no, I was investing a lot more time in it. I don't ever question your picks. So I was trying to before I would try and research picks that would come through on my own, and which typically results in reading publications from sportscasters like CBS Sports or Fox Sports or whatever, and then they have their own handicappers who put their take on the game. And I'm trying to run averages on my own, and I just wasn't successful doing it that way. Didn't pay dividends. But the way that it works now is, I just view this entire thing as like I said earlier, I think is kind of like an auxiliary or a unique investment strategy outside of my standard portfolio. And I mean, the amount of return for the effort is just out of this world. I mean, it's outrageous. So yeah, it's been a hell of a good thing for me.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like it honestly just sounds too good to be true almost.
Yes, it does for sure.
So, like I always compare it to investing. You're comparing it to investments. Why do you feel that, this is, why do you feel that it is a long term sustainable investment like other things like the stock market, real estate, crypto markets, whatever it may be? Why do you think it's similar?
I think that there's some patterns. To all of those things, right? And sports included. Sports has patterns to it as well. And I don't really know your process for how you're qualifying the games, and it wouldn't make sense for you to share that because that's what makes you successful, and that's what makes you and this to be your program and a good thing. But from what I've seen and what you've displayed to me, some of the graphs and the win losses is that it's projectable, and so you've got your good months and you've got your bad months, and then you have your really really great months. That's exactly like the market. If you look at it from a long-term standpoint, just like a portfolio, I'm not buying and selling stocks in a daily or weekly business. I'm in the stocks for the long haul. And so that's the way that I look at investing with you is that, I just probably look at it in like a 12-month picture and say, okay, what's this 12 months going to look like for me? But, you're continuing to maintain an increase. So it's been very progressive.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sweet. And I think like I know we touched on this a little bit earlier, but like even if I give these bets I can give the same bets to someone else and they can still lose money. And I think that comes down to mindset. So what was your mindset before and what's your mindset now?
I think before I was looking at it as more of a, make a bunch of cash really quick. And the minute that I transitioned to the long game and I started betting appropriately as far as my unit sizes, when I upped my unit sizes, just all the things that you put in place in the program. Once I did that, my success rate just increased dramatically.
Yeah. What do you think the biggest mistake that you see other people making with sports betting is?
They can't take their losses. They try and double down, so they'll lose, and then they try and pick another game and double down on that, and they lose that one, and before you know it, they're out of capital. But if you play the long game and you're keeping your unit sizes fixed, you're playing the law of averages then.
Yeah. So you've made $20,000 in roughly a week profit, which is pretty crazy to say. How has making that much money, kind of impacted your life?
So, like when you and I talked, I kind of decided initially that I decided that I was just going to leave the money in there and keep rolling it. So, like I don't pull any of my winnings to use for my own personal, like go buy a car or whatever. The cash stays in there, and the reason why I do that is because as your cash stacks, your unit size stacks as well. And so, what would be maybe a $25,000 a year for one person could be a $250,000 a year for me, or a $500,000
Yeah.
a year for me. So,
Just because of the reinvesting.
absolutely.
Yeah. A lot of people, they get greedy and then pull out those profits, go spend the money. But, it always comes back to like the stock market, real estate, whatever it may be. It's literally just another investment. And just like those other investments, the more money you have, the more money you're going to make. And it's always why I say like you need money to make money. A lot of people go into sports betting thinking, you can turn $10 into $10,000 and that's the best way to go about it, which obviously, like, yes, you can, it's possible, but it's the same thing of going into the stock market and investing all of your money in penny stocks and trying to hit big, overnight.
Yeah.
It's not the most efficient way to go about it. If you don't have, at least $2,000 to bet with, you probably shouldn't be betting in the first place. Go get a job, stack up your money, and then put that money into it. But people who only have a few hundred or like $1,000, if you look at a percentage game, 100% over a year in the stock market is amazing. If you have $1,000 and you have a 100% return, now you're only at $2,000. That's nothing amazing. So, you need money to make money, long story short.
Absolutely.
So now that we've covered like a lot of like the results, the mindset, all of that stuff aside, what would you tell someone who's watching this video that's on the fence about joining, on the fence about, taking it seriously, on the fence that what we do even works, that it's legit, all of that?
I mean, the main thing I would tell them is that they're only going to be successful if they follow the rules to the game. And you define very clear rules to the way that you manage this program. But as long as they can be disciplined and follow through, they will most certainly have success in this.
Yeah. Why do you think, the people who don't have success, is it strictly their discipline?
Yeah, and I think that, and I think the expectation to make a lot of money in a very small period of time, it can't happen.
That's the other one that I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the way that it works, and you end up losing. You're gonna lose.
Yep.
It's guaranteed.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for someone who, thinks the price is too high, what would you say? Because like, I'm well aware that we do charge a decent amount compared to a lot of these other guys. That the reason that we charge that is because, obviously the results that we get. What would you say to someone, that thinks the price is too high?
I mean, I think that anything worthwhile doing requires some form of investment, some form of commitment. And, if, as long as, like you said, they're starting out with a reasonable amount of money that they can invest and they're not betting their rent check, and they can stick with the program long term, like it's going to way more than pay for itself. I mean, hell, you've paid it back to me 3 times over already.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
For sure.
I think like a lot of people, they see the price, and then they compare it to people who are charging like $50 a month or $100 a month. But whenever you work with those guys, you get $50 a month results, you get $100 a month results, and then they wonder why they're losing. Like it.
I was absolutely going to say that.
You do what you get.
Yeah, you get what you pay for. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What would you say? Obviously, like, you've been burned by a lot of handicappers. What would you say to someone that has been burned by a lot of handicappers that is thinking about, taking one last chance, just like you?
This is the one. So jump. I wouldn't hold back. This has been night and day difference compared to what I've dealt with in the past. And you're just a great guy, man. You're approachable. You're involved. You're humble, which goes a really long way for somebody with your level of success, especially at your age. It just says a lot about your character. I appreciate it. I'm grateful for you.
I appreciate it too. I mean, I find it amazing that, I'm not saying I'm like some super humble guy or whatever, but like, I do find it amazing that people make some money and then they just get like a huge ego on them. Like, especially the people in the sports betting industry that like I personally know, some of them are just like, you cannot hang around, like you cannot hang out with these people in person. Like you just drive yourself insane because they just think they're the most like hot shot shit in the world. It's so annoying. But yeah, I do appreciate it. And yeah. So finally, just to wrap up everything, if you could sum up your experience working with me, the bets, everything included in one sentence, what would that be?
So you said if I could sum up working with you in one sentence.
Yeah.
I think that working with you has been a highly rewarding and profitable friendship. And
That's a great way to put it.
And it certainly feels that way working with you. It's very personal.
Yeah. I think that's, a great way to put it. I appreciate that. And it does mean a lot. I used to work with like clients that like anyone that would just pay me money, I would work with them. Now it's at the point where like we hopped on a call. I made sure that I could even help you. I made sure that what we even do is going to make you money and like it pays off. It's so much more refreshing to work with people like you rather than people who think they always know more, think they are going to make a bajillion dollars as soon as they spend money with me. You know, you came into it with realistic expectations. You came into it with an investment. Like, you literally treat it the exact way that I preach, you know, people should be doing it. And I mean, you nailed it. You made $20,000 in your first month. And like, it goes to show, like, if you do the stuff that like I'm trying to tell these people to do, you will make money. You're living proof of that. $20,000 in a month is not something, you know, that you come by pretty often, you know?
No,
So props to you. And that pretty much wraps up the call. You know, I truly appreciate it.
and I appreciate you, James. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.